Howdy, y'all. Welcome to Triggered Care. I am Alex. We're going to take a break from all that heavy stuff the last couple days, and we're going to talk about CPTSD paranoia versus real danger. So, differentiating what is from your PTSD as far as paranoia goes and what you should take as an actual indication of danger. So, let's get into it. First off, let's figure out why we are paranoid a lot of the time. Why we have this problem of being paranoid a lot of the time. And that comes from hypervigilance, which is a symptom of both PTSD and CPTSD. And that happens when you have too much adrenaline along with too much fear for an extended amount of time. That actually changes your brain chemistry and some of your brain parts. The most important part being your amygdala, which is the process or the thing in your brain that processes fear. And when you go through a traumatic event or multiple traumatic events, that will enlarge your amygdala, so you will be more prone to having fear and fear-like emotions. So, what we need to do is we need to figure out a way to separate from our hypervigilance and be able to see if we are in a dangerous situation or not. Because I know for me personally, I've struggled with this a lot. Because I ignore my red flag thing in my brain that goes off, that starts saying danger, danger, because I've gotten so used to thinking that everything's dangerous, you learn to ignore it, or it drives you so crazy that you become agoraphobic, and you hermit, and you don't go out, and that's not good either. You shouldn't be ignoring the danger signs, but you shouldn't be just overwhelmed with them all the time either. It's very hard to find a middle ground, but we're going to try to do that. I'm going to try to help you do that. I've made progress in this, and I know that you can make progress in this too. What has helped me is something I call the red flag system. And what is a red flag, first of all? And a red flag is the circumstance or situation that you're in, a departure from safe behavior, a departure from normal, quote unquote, normal behavior, but normal behavior would be classified as safe behavior within the norms. It's not getting too intense, it's not getting too extreme. So in order to allow your brain to figure out, hey, is this normal? Hey, is this a dangerous spot or no? Because you'll feel intensely, even if it's not necessarily an intense thing going on. So the first thing we got to do is find our baseline fear. And how you do that is you have to experiment a bit. You have to go out into public more. You got to go out to the store. You got to go out to the park. You got to engage yourself more around people to know what your baseline fear is. What is your fear at all the time? Because then once you get that baseline down, you can figure out if your fear is going above that or staying at the normal anxious level. And that really has to do with getting to know yourself, getting to know what you react to, getting to know all those things. We'll get more into that in a second. And yeah, so what is your normal anxiety level just going out and about? That's very important. And this is a really hard step to take. I personally hermit a lot when I'm going through bad times. So I know it's not as easy as, oh, well, just get out there. Because no, it's not that easy. You have to do a lot of mental prep, especially if you've been hermiting for a long time, to get out there. I've been able to get out more with the help of my therapist, with the help of my husband, with the help of friends, This is where your support network really needs to come in and help kind of be your safe barrier of go out with your friend if you're uncomfortable going out alone. Ask your spouse to keep you accountable and be like, hey, I want to go out at least twice this week. I want to get out of the house. Making goals like that so you can know how nervous are you normally out and about. The next thing that helped me with this was I listed my triggers out, and getting to know your triggers and physically writing them out or saying them out, making a recording of what your triggers are and then listening to it, some way of documenting what your triggers are will help tremendously, because then when you're in a situation and you're feeling intense, you can take a look around the room and be like, hey, are there triggers here that are making me feel more intense? Or is this from what's going on interpersonally? And then once you have your list of triggers, what also helped me was separating them from what triggers are an indication of danger, which could be a look in somebody's eye, body language, that sort of thing, the interpersonal relationship triggers, versus the random triggers, the physical triggers such as bicycles, Microsoft Excel, or like a movie that I watched after I went through something traumatic, something like that, where it's incidental that triggers you because it's not the object that was necessarily triggering, it's that there was a trauma going on and then your brain recorded that image and associates that image with the trauma. So writing out your triggers and then separating them from danger indication triggers versus random inconsequential triggers. And once you get this list written out, and you might have to do it a few times for it to stick in your head, but you will feel more in control of your triggers. And part of that is just awareness of just being like, oh my goodness, I didn't even realize that this billboard on the way to work has this image that reminds me of this time. Like, it's amazing how many triggers you see once you start listing them out and being like, oh, that's why I feel like poop every time I go by that place, is because it's making me think of this. So that's a different anxiety than being in a dangerous situation and being like, I feel in danger. They feel very similar, but once you start learning your triggers, you're going to be able to differentiate more and more of what is normal and what is from an actual threat. Through grounding exercises, you can learn to control your compulsion to overanalyze and to think that everything's dangerous. You'll be able to feel more comfortable. And that comes along with the experience of going out. You need to couple these two things. Because if you're going out and every time you go out you're disassociating and floating through, you're not going to learn much about yourself. Because your brain's going to be off in a different place. So combining your grounding exercises, making sure that you're breathing properly, making sure that you're not clenched up the entire time that you're out and about, is really integral into being able to see real danger. So, when you are in a situation and you're questioning, is this really dangerous? What are the random triggers around you? Are there random triggers around you? Are there inconsequential triggers around you? Then, look around. Are there danger triggers around you? Are there triggers from interpersonal traumas that you have based on somebody's body language, on their tone of voice, whatever it is, Is that what's triggering you? Because if that's what it is, then there's a good chance that you need to remove yourself from that situation. And then finally, feel the room. If there's more than just you and another person in there, well, and even just you and one-on-one, try to feel out their feelings. If you're feeling hostility from them, if you're feeling anger coming from them, it might be a good time to be like, hey, I need a break. I'm going to leave. I'm going to cool off, you cool off, and let's reconvene when we can talk, or not reconvene if it's not someone that you need to talk to again. And if there's other people in the room, say it's more of a group thing where you're like, I don't know if there's good things going on here, read the room. What emotions are you feeling? If you're feeling overwhelming negative emotion because you can connect with that emotion really easily, that's a good sign of, hey, I might need to remove myself. This is too intense. But if you can't read the room or it's more difficult, that's probably because it's harder to read people who don't have really intense emotions. And so that can be seen more as neutral or safe, because if they're not showing aggression, if they're not showing overwhelming sadness or overwhelming whatever emotion, chances are they're at a neutral state and it's not a dangerous situation to be in. And also keep in mind that empaths can feel other empaths. So if you're in a room with a lot of people, say a couple of them can feel the feelings of others too. If they feel that you're nervous, that may make them nervous. And so if you're comfortable enough, and hopefully this is an environment where you're comfortable enough to talk, say, hey, how's it going? I'm feeling sort of weird. Anybody else feeling that? And giving a check-in. Let's feel the temperature of the room. And if you're too afraid to feel the temperature of the room, it is more than okay to take a step back and be like, I need a break. Go to a bathroom, go to your car, go to a safe place where you can be by yourself and sit and analyze a little bit what's going on, what's triggering me, what's triggering this hypervigilance. Is it a danger trigger or is it an inconsequential trigger? Lastly, the red flag system that I brought up earlier in the video. So for me, this actually worked out pretty well for me in my past. I got out of a lot of bad relationships early on using this system. And it was the 3 red flag system. So if I was given 3 dangerous triggers where I'm like, this is not safe, this is not sane behavior, then I cut it off. And that 3 number is just a general rule of thumb, because most abusers don't come out abusing hard right away. It takes them a while to work up to it. And so these 3 triggers would happen in a span of, 6 to 8 weeks, where I'm like, that's not normal, that's not good. But there's been also times where the trigger was so big that it was just that one trigger that was enough for me to be like, nope, I'm not associating with you. I'm sorry, we cannot hang out. A trigger like that would be, being a young lady and having a man offer his apartment for you to stay at, especially if you're underage, and then, offering alcohol on top of that. That's a major red flag. Any strange man offering you a ride, an apartment. I mean, it depends on how well you know them, but even then, good acquaintances can turn abusive quick. So noticing how they handle little rejection first, testing out the waters. And this gets more and more into interpersonal relationship habits, which there will be a video about that as well. But for this video, I think the most help that you can get is doing that trigger exercise and just noticing triggers along with practicing your breathing. And I'll have a video soon about relationships, what are good boundaries, what are bad boundaries, how to decipher what's going on. Because that, I mean, if I started talking about that now, I could go on for another 2 hours. So that will be another video. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you're all doing awesome. Discord chats down below, Facebook page down below, and Reddit page down below. Don't hesitate to share your experience, to share your thoughts, and like always, have a good one.